Hello everyone, welcome back to Naomi's Bookshelf. Today we're going to talk about lost books I would recommend you reading for Buzzwordathon. So as per usual in these videos, I'd like to recommend 10 books that are all varied in genres, but they all tend to be short and or fast to read, so you can read them all within the first week of the month if you like to do that solely for those first 7 days. I can stretch my books out all month long because lately that's the way I do it, but I recommend for you 10 different books that you can read for the word lost in this video. Let's start off with the middle grade that I read for this one, which was Long Lost by Jacqueline West. This one was a magical realism book inside a book kind of one, and it followed Fiona and her sister, mostly Fiona and her family, as she was moving to this small town. Her sister is really big into figure skating, and Fiona is not happy about the fact that they are moving closer to her sister's ice skating rink, and Fiona is forced to abandon all she knows. Fiona then goes to the local library and finds this book about two sisters who are torn apart by something in the shadows, and that book seems to really be engrossing to her. It was really engrossing to me when we were reading it through the book, and then the book keeps disappearing on her. She follows it, and there's this magical realism element. I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 stars. I think it was a really fun and fast-paced one to read. It's pretty new. It came out, I think, in April of this year, and I'd highly recommend checking it out for a middle grade for this prompt. For a Western one, which I have recently picked up and started enjoying, I would recommend The Rider of Lost Creek. This one's by Louis L'Amour, and I really enjoyed this one. This one is a Western mystery, and this one is about Kilkenny, who is very much a lone rider in the sense he likes to do things on his own. He doesn't like to be near anybody else, and he finds out that one of his friends needs help when he is out and about, and so he goes to help him. There are these 3 warring groups of people for land in this part of the country of the West, and 2 of them are these big ranches, and the other third party is his friend. However, there's also this looming overarching part that is really troubling about these cattle that are going missing and a potential murder, and Kilkenny is really going to dive in and solve all of the problems. It is the first book in a series, so you can always continue on if you wanted to. And Kilkenny is quite an interesting character, and I loved following his story. It is very fast-paced and very short, and I highly recommend that one. I gave it 5 stars. A short, very short novella, which is 36 pages, but it counts, is Lost and Found in Cedar Creek, and this one is by Debbie McComber. This is one of the books in the Rose Harbor series. I picked it up mostly for this challenge, but also to pick it up for Debbie McComber's writing style, and I really enjoyed it. She introduced you to several characters, but not too many in this little novella, but she also introduced you to mostly the dog and who the dog ran into when the dog ran away. It's nice to see a small town, and you really got the sense of the small town feel, and I really enjoyed it, and I am excited to pick up more from Debbie McComber based on solely the 36 pages that I read. And I highly recommend that you check this out for this little itty-bitty book, and maybe pick up more from Debbie McComber if you haven't already. A book that I highly recommend is I Lost My Talk by Rita Jo. This is by a woman who was actually in a residential school, and this was a poem that she wrote about her experience of losing her speech and losing her culture, and then trying to find her way again with it. This is a picture book that was actually colored, or drawn pictures with that, and I found it so impactful and so important to read. It's very fast, obviously, as a picture book, but very, very important, and it's something that's very impactful and very prevalent and relevant to Canadian history and Canadian culture, and even if you're not Canadian, something very important to learn. So I highly recommend checking out that. I also read The Lost Lemon Mine by Ron Stewart. This one is Old West ghost story kind of legend, essentially, about the West, where there is this legend about a gold mine where Lemon shot his partner, and the gold mine apparently has tons of gold in it because of this, because no one could find it. And it is still a legend apparently in Western BC, and it is something that this book was written about, and it told lots of points of view. I gave it 3 stars because it had a really interesting premise and lots of interesting documentation. However, it did use some racially inappropriate terms from the modern sense, so be aware of that. However, I thought that the premise and idea of it sounded really interesting, a ghost story from history, and I love a good history book, so highly recommend that if you are at all interested in good history. The Lost Hills by Lee Goldberg is definitely one I would recommend. This one is a very fast-paced mystery, and it's the first book in the Eve Ronin series. I'm sure if you've been watching the channel for long enough, you know I am gushing about this series. I flew through the first book, and it follows Eve Ronin, who is a young, new homicide detective, but she really got there because she went viral arresting a massive TV star or movie star, and it is really fun, and she is really new to the case, so she has very rookie mistakes that she makes, but she also has these fresh eyes that she brings to every crime scene. Love her work as a character, but I love Lee Goldberg's writing style, and I love how every book makes you question the motives of each character, and I love the series so far. I've rated every book in the series 5 stars, and this is just such an exciting series for me, and because it's book 1, you might just want to continue on, but highly recommend Lost Hills. Another book that I recommend would be The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. This one was so good. It's a mystery, but it's historical. So this book follows 3 women. One of them is Caroline, and she is in our modern day. She finds a bottle in London, and she is trying to research where this bottle came from, and she discovers it's from this apothecary. You're also following Nella, who runs this apothecary 200 years previous to Caroline, and you're also following Eliza, who is a 12-year-old during that time and helping Nella, but they are trying to give poisons out, and that's the thing about this apothecary. They give poisons out to people to kill men, not women. The struggle comes, though, when a woman comes into the apothecary wanting a poison to kill a woman, and they are required to give it to her, otherwise they will be found out and given to the police. So it's a very interesting story. I loved everything about this. It had the mystery, it had the women killing women with poisons, which I love as a part of history that no one really has talked about, I think, in a lot of murder mysteries. So this was really fun. It's also really short, and I found it really fast paced, and I love the dual timelines. This one was great. As a quick little note, this is not something I would recommend to you to read, but if you really want to read an Agatha Christie for this, I did read the only Agatha Christie with the word lost in the title, which was Lost Mine, The Lost Mine, and it was a 2-star. It's not good. It's very racist, and it is a very short story by Agatha Christie about Hercule Poirot. Not great, but it is Agatha Christie if you wanted to for that purpose. A Shakespeare play that you might be interested in is Love's Labour's Lost, and this one follows a court of men where they have banned women entirely, and then the king of that court has to work with a woman who's come from another court. The princess of this faraway kingdom has come. I think she's the Princess of France, but whatever. She comes and she is doing business with him. And meanwhile, so this group of 4 men and this group of 4 women, they start to fall in love. It's a comedy. I found it really funny, and it really is about this group of men who've never seen women, or who have not never, but they haven't seen women in a while. And these group of women who are like, we're not allowed in, so we're going to play with their emotions. And it was really fun. At least that's how I took it. And I really enjoyed this play, and I thought the comedy was really fun, and the aspects of it I really enjoyed. So I'd recommend the Shakespeare play if you wanted to. I always recommend listening or watching Shakespeare, as that's the way I think it's meant to be enjoyed, but you can always read it physically if you wanted to. I also have a nonfiction on this list, as I always try to have one, and that is Wild by Cheryl Strayed. And this one has a really long subtitle, and in it is the word lost. This one is about Cheryl Strayed, and it's her memoir of when she hiked the Pacific Northwest Trail. I think that's the trail that she hiked, and I read it a while ago, but I found it so fascinating as she never hiked, and then she went on this long trek, and she bought the wrong boots, or she bought boots that she had never worn before, and went straight from there to hiking, which is a big mistake. She had barely any money. She had never really done a journey like this before, so she had very limited experience or knowledge. I think it's a really incredible book about finding yourself and finding where your strengths are, trusting your instincts, and I really enjoyed reading it. So I highly recommend that. The audiobook was really incredible too, and I recommend it. The last book I have to recommend is The Lost Love Duology, which technically in this readathon or like year-long prompt readathon, whatever you want to call it, the series named as Count. So in this series, they have the Even Now and then Ever After books. And in this book series, duology, it follows two teenagers who fell in love and got pregnant. And then the second book follows their daughter. So it's a Christian fiction book series about them. It's been a while since I've read that, but I do really enjoy that book series because it talks about being torn apart and family dynamics and trust. And it talks about a lot of elements that family dynamics can be messy. And I really enjoy that part of that book series, that duology. It's short. And then the second book especially, I really love because it talks about moving forward and how to reconnect and how to heal from damaged relationships. So really enjoy that one. So for my own book that I'll be reading for the Buzzwordathon, I have a pile of possibilities. I have been really struggling with reading lately, and especially having a set book TBR, I'm not going to be guaranteeing that. So because I couldn't find an Agatha Christie book that really worked for this, I was looking under Mary Roberts Reinhardt, who I have been loving, and I finally found Lost Ecstasy. That was really hard to say for some reason. And this one I don't know anything about, but I am really excited to possibly try it. I had to buy it, I think from Amazon used because it's out of print, but I really am excited with this. It also has another title, but yeah. So if you find it under the other title, I would totally count that. I would also recommend it without reading it. The other one, actually let me put that up so you can see it. The other one that I might read is, I haven't read it yet, so we might go with it, is Lost World. This is the sequel to Jurassic Park. I meant to read it in October. Haven't read it yet, so I might give it a good shot. This one is a bit bigger though, but I flew through Jurassic Park, so it's a possible reading one. And then I have this nonfiction for possibly Nonfiction November as well. It's really big though, and I don't know if I'll get to it. That's the Romanov sisters, The Lost Lives of the Daughters of Nicholas and Alexandra. And this one, like I said, it's big, but it's about the four princesses as they, before they died. And it's, yeah, really big. It's 500 pages. So maybe, I don't know, we'll see. But one that I could definitely knock this one out of the park is I saw it at the thrift store and I grabbed it. And that is this little itty bitty kids book, The Lost Dinosaur Bone by Mercer Meyer. This one, I loved these books growing up and I thought this will make me complete this challenge no problem. And I don't even have to worry. So I will probably read this one for sure, and then I'll try to read Lost Ecstasy and maybe one of my other ones, but I'm not guaranteeing anything else except for this one. So that's my official TBR, or TBR of possibilities, shall we say. So let me know down in the comments what you'll be reading for Buzzwordathon, or what are your favorite lost books down below. Please also like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you are new here, and I will see you next time in another video. Bye for now.